Okay, it looks like we're live. Let me double check.
Awesome.
Double check because they were. All right, we are live. Yay. All right. Hey, it's Sue Greenwald here with Awakened Stories, and I'm here today with Lydia Durham. Welcome, Lydia. Yay.
Hello, how are you?
We had lots of interference today already.
Good.
Today is March 20th, 2024. And for those that don't know, Lydia and I have talked before, so I do know part of her story, but we're going to retell her story today in a more chronological order so that people understand there's a lot of new viewers on the channel. So we want people to understand your story. So a couple things I wanted to say is I'm not asking for proof. We're not asking for documentation. I know you have some of that, Lydia, but we're not going to go there. We're not doing gematria, coding, dates, any of that stuff. It just takes a lot of time, and we just want to get the story out there. And the other thing I want to say is a lot of celebrities fake their deaths for various reasons. All right. So we're as a population starting to see that more and more. So we're just going to kind of go with this story and see what happens with it and kind of look on the outside world to see what's happening there as well. So yay. Well, welcome, Lydia.
Yeah.
So, what I wanted to do today was talk about your childhood and build up to the present date if we could. So, can you tell us like where you were born and kind of the circumstances of that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, as far as my birth certificate that I was given says, it would be Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's it. So, and then from there on, I know there was, from what I can remember, there was a brief time I was living in South Plainfield, New Jersey first. Then it was a brief time in Turnersville, New Jersey, and then back to South Plainfield, New Jersey for a while. And from there, we also lived in the Bronx, New
Oh,
York. Um, yes, we lived in the Bronx for a little while as well. And then we came back to Middlesex, New Jersey, and then from there, we also went, when I was older, whatever, um, for a brief period of time when the more problem around the Trump presidency, that was the North Carolina time,
okay.
and
Okay.
went from there. But
So
yeah.
you pretty much always lived in New Jersey your whole life. You bounced over to Bronx for a while, then you came back to New Jersey.
Mhm.
When did you find out that you were adopted? Like how old were you?
I know it was elementary school, so maybe about mm, like vaguely remember. I just remember elementary school, but could have been like second, third
Okay.
grade, somewhere around that area.
So when you were told you were adopted, you probably didn't even really know what that meant, but did you?
Right, like I remember, the one thing I remember is like my mother would always tell me like you're adopted, and I guess she would kind of like back out of telling me a lot because I'd be like, "What is that? What does that mean?" And she'd be
Right.
like, "Oh, it means I love you," and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, and then one day, because a lot of times, like they would, a lot of people would see me and see her when I got like maybe in the first or second grade, and the kids would be like, "That's your mother?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" Like it didn't dawn on me. I mean, I don't know, And sometimes I would look at myself because, especially in the summer, I get dark. Some, if I sit out or whatever, or my hair, stiff, whatever, and you know, a lot of people would say stuff, you know, and I would sit there looking at myself or be like, I do kind of look different, but then I didn't, it didn't dawn on me that, you know, but so then there was that one day where she was like, oh well, this and that, and I was like, huh,
Right.
like, oh, so I'm not like, not, you're like, this isn't my real parents.
Right.
But then I was like, I don't care. Like
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I was like, I wonder what happened though. Like, I wonder what happened to them, And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, what am I gonna do about it?
right. Well,
Like I just figure like nothing changed.
when you're a little bit older, sometimes it traumatizes you a little bit that you weren't told earlier, but it sounds like, they told you you were 7, 8, 9, maybe, and it was like, yeah, whatever. And you didn't think too much about it. So tell us about your adopted parents and what your home life was like as a little, we're talking really from birth to age, well, 10, 12, when uh, would you say that, all right, we'll start with your mom. Was your mom a good mom? Like, was she a loving and nurturing person? Did she act like she wanted you there?
Oh yeah, no, no. Well, yeah, absolutely. Now she, wanted me there, and you know, there wasn't really problem. Like her, she was more different. However, she would have problems as far as like dealing with, the so-called father there. So being dealing with that person, shall I say, okay, shall I say, dealing with that person, when you're a kid, you don't understand, a lot of people would probably think, there's something wrong with her, even though she would go, or they would think like the correct word to use actually would be maybe bipolar, like because even though a kid wouldn't use bipolar, but maybe an adult would,
Right,
a kid would be like, why does she act, this way? She's always mad, or she'll get mad and then she'll be nice. She'll get mad and she'll be nice. She's mean one minute and nice one minute. That's how a kid would think. But, you know, like she could be really nice and then she'll turn around and be mean. But an adult, would be like, man, she's crazy. She's bipolar. But see, when you understand, once you get to understand what's going on here and what's being done, as of say MK Ultra, satanic ritual abuse, cultism, and other things, what they're doing to people and how they can abuse women or men, children, anybody, how they can trap you into relationships, how they can easily manipulate somebody, how they can control somebody, how they could literally enslave somebody or have somebody captured without, and it looks like the person's not captured. Well, you're free, you have a car to drive, you're living in a home, you go out, you're shopping in a store, you're going out to eat. I can't get away from this, people. Your eyes are misleading you. You're being fooled, you're being bamboozled, and nobody will help me because we're living in a system full of crooks that are down with it and
right,
protecting it.
right.
So nobody's understanding, right? So with that being said, when you understand all this, I say that because you will look at it as in she's trying to be the person, that maybe she truly is, and at the same time, it's like, she probably would have been a teacher. She probably would have been, you know, like all these different things, but she couldn't live, say, one dream. She couldn't do one thing that she would have really done. She couldn't have been a happy person. She couldn't have love. She couldn't have anything a human being deserves because she's trapped in this cycle of what it is, satanic garbage. Meanwhile, she has, you know, children or whatever that she tries to enjoy little bits of, but she has to deal with this and has no outlet because you can't really talk about it. People think you're nuts, or you can't really. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Who's going to help you? You're just in this mess and you're
Right,
stuck around somebody that is the way they are.
right,
So I say that to say, you have to say what's going on because you can't speak about certain individuals and just say, oh, well, hey, this is what I went through, because that's not being fair to their character. If you say, well, this is what I went through, and this person did A, B, C, D, and E, and this person did A, B, C, D, and E, and it's like, wow, that's horrible. And then they're going to make a judgment on somebody without knowing, well, hey, that person also has a backstory. That's like if somebody see me, like for instance, if I'm being abused, like I'm being abused by all these people, right? And everybody has a human element, right? So, you're going to get a bad day, right? It doesn't mean that the whole person is a bad person. So if somebody's boyfriend just beat the heck out of them and they cover it up, it's only on their body. So they're wearing clothes. You can't see that they just got beaten up. But every day, they're the nicest person in the world. They are the nicest person in the world, right? So they just get beaten, 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 and they come out. And usually the same people they see every day, they're like, hi, I love you. I love you, have a great day. And they come out that day and they're like, people are like, hey, how are you? And they're like, just leave me alone. And then everybody's like, man, she's a real, guess what? No, she's not. You know what I mean? Like that's the
Yeah.
human element. She's
Yeah.
something happened to her. Like, you know what I mean? You can't just judge somebody because they're human element and they're human, they're hurting and whatever. So the character person, we got to look at what's going on and what brought a person to certain ways and what's going on, because the satanic ritual abuse and the things that is happening to a person could bring about. And that right there is what the cult and these beings, whatever they are, bank on to get people to turn on each other and to get the isolation factor and everything that they're doing to everybody. That's what makes them successful in what they're doing. So when we speak about what we're going through and certain people around us, we got to make sure that we also educate on certain things too.
Well, I was just trying to establish whether she like wanted, an adopted
Mhm.
baby, or if she was more of a handler, like that was her job,
Right.
and she tried to
I
make,
think she was handled.
yeah, of course. And so she tried to make the best of it. It sounds like, she tried to be, a mother, but as
Right.
you just said, she had all these other stressors, like she had a
Mhm.
very
Which
complex
brought
situation.
about some abusive behavior and controlling behavior out of her too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not like crazy like that, but like certain ways, like, you're gonna do this now, or get the yelling and the screaming and the just like some outrageous behaviors and the dependency and the overwhelming, even as I grew up, like teenage or whatever, like the clinging and the, you know, you're not gonna leave me, and the fear of abandonment and the all that, and just a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
you could see where it's going to, where it came from, you know what I mean? So it brought upon some behaviors with it.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah. So talk about your adopted dad.
Oh,
Did your mom and dad fight a lot? Or
yeah,
okay.
that was real now.
Okay. So they fought a lot, but like talk about him a little bit so we can kind of I want to set up a foundation
Is
for
the
people.
world ready?
Huh?
You got to be ready for that one. This
Yeah,
is this
this
PG or R? I mean,
we can go mild R.
mild R, mild R.
Mild R because
Because I mean, we're bringing up George Hout now. I mean, really. Now
yeah,
let's.
and for those that don't know, this is a wild story. It's a wild story, and it takes a little bit of a leap of faith, but we're going to get there. It's just that's why we want to go step by step because there's so much complexity here. But yeah, so talk. What was your mom's name?
Lois Ann Hout, speaking about step by step, you better say, ooh, baby, because I'll tell you, George Hout is one.
Okay,
That's from the New Kids on the Block, by the way, but go ahead.
I don't know, but okay. So George Howe, tell us
Yeah.
about your adopted dad.
Okay, my adopted dad, George Hout.
Okay, so
Well,
so
I mean, he was a true nut. Like, I mean, when you bring him to counseling and they tell you, don't bring this person back ever. No, literally, that's what happened. I
yeah,
advocated for him. I said, please bring him. I was only 13. And I said, listen, I was old enough. I couldn't take it no more. I was in middle school and I went in there. I said, he needs to go to counseling.
So what kind
And they
of
were like, they were complaining about my behavior in school, you know,
can you imagine?
you know, yeah, well,
What,
but I mean, in all fairness, like, okay, when you've got people fighting in the house, this is what was going on. You know, you got people fighting in the house. He's choking my brother out at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm being dead serious too. He's choking my brother out. Like I wake up to, she's literally at the kitchen table reading a book.
why was he choking your
She didn't know what to
brother?
do.
What happened?
Well, apparently, he was on his way home. I guess Steven snuck out. I don't know. He was whatever. So Steven was out. And then I just heard whatever. But I kind of don't believe that either because I don't know where he used to get this kind of money. But I mean, we used to find, I counted it. We used to find like $80,000 in cash, $100,000 in cash floating around the house. I thought it was normal because I was young. I didn't know, I'm like, oh, here's another like $10,000.
Okay.
I thought it was normal.
Yeah.
Like
And,
I mean, yeah.
and your dad's profession at the time, and this was
And
probably,
what I
yeah.
think it was though, yeah, I think it was though too. I think my brothers sometimes would like be like hounding him for money for drugs and stuff, and then like if he didn't want it, whatever, they would start fighting because I caught him doing it one time because he didn't know I was home, and I heard him like, "Give me the money," and I went up there and I was like, "Stop." Like I was older than that. That happened when I was older, and that's why when I think about it, I'm thinking, is that what all the fights were about? Like from when I was younger on up, you know what I mean? Like maybe it wasn't other stuff. Like, is this what always started? Because see, he didn't know I was home, So was it always about like you knew he's hiding all this money, so you're always just fighting over